If you ever watched It's a Wonderful Life, George Bailey got to see what it was like if he was never born, and realizing how his life impacted everybody else's. I would have to say that in my mind, Peter and Florine's life has impacted the Department of Urology 1,000-fold, and it would be impossible to be the department we are and treat the patients the way we do without that gift.
When Dr. Diogno got here, and I followed a year later, we had 2 patient rooms in the hospital as the entire Department of Urology.
We have very limited resources, and money is actually being directed to taking care of patients.
I met Peter approximately 25 years ago, and we were talking about this issue, okay, that we wanted to do better things, and unfortunately we didn't have enough money. And the first thing that he did, he said, "No, I want to help people." And I said, "Okay, what is your idea of helping people?" I said, "I want to bring people, doctors from underdeveloped countries, to see what you guys do here."
Peter and Florine started supporting an international fellowship at Beaumont in the Department of Urology, and it's something that was overseen by Dr. Gonzalez.
The idea is for these doctors to go back to the country of origin so they can show these advances that we do here to the patients in the country. Okay, that's what the beginning of what happened with the Ministrelli Fund here.
And we got the fellows from the 4 corners of the world, from South America, from Africa, from Asia, Europe, both East and West.
They would go back and now are often, leaders in the field of where they're at because of that additional training they were able to get at Beaumont. We let our residents go to an international trip every year to get an experience what it's like to do medicine in other countries. One of our residents went to see John Kachimba, who was in Zambia, and John is the chair of his hospital in Zambia in urology. But John was initially one of our Ministrelli fellows. This resident's name is Mike Ingber, spent a month with John. He came back a changed man by going to Africa, working side by side with John and others on those patients. He came back feeling like this deep drive that he needed to do something to improve the care there. So even as a resident, Dr. Ingber developed a foundation to help raise money for Africa mission work.
I think we're known throughout the country as a program that has very special opportunities.
The 5th-year urology residents get the opportunity to basically pick anywhere they want to go in the world.
And it's because of the Ministrellis that we can do that.
I had always wanted to go to South America. Dr. Gonzalez is from Argentina and had a lot of connections there. Through him, I made a connection with a urologist who's internationally known down in Argentina. And I went and spent a month practicing urology down there.
Down in Argentina, you have really the epitome of the haves and the have-not. There's a free care health system that's paid by the government, and then there are people with insurance.
The thing that people don't realize is more than just research, more than just your ratings. We're proud of our ratings, but there's a humanitarian aspect to what the fund has done for all of our residents who recognize problems in the world urologically, how surgery operates in the world, opening their eyes to different perspectives, opening their eyes to more meaningful things in life.
It made me appreciative of how much we have here in the United States and how fortunate we are to practice medicine here.
The stuff that they were using is stuff that we would have thrown away on any given day, and it really gives you an appreciation for, how we can best take care of our patients.
That was the first donation of Mr. Ministrelli to the hospital. So one day, there was a problem, with the situation that everybody was doing robotic surgery. He called me one day and said, what's wrong that Beaumont doesn't have a robot? He said, well, we don't have the funds. He told me, you call tomorrow the chief of urology, at that time was Dr. Diogno, and you tell him that I want him to call tomorrow and buy the robot.
And so he donated another significant sum of money, and with that, we were able to then obtain a robot machine.
Robotic surgery would not have happened without the Ministrelli support. There is no question. The robotic surgery was developed with that support to allow us to not only take care of patients, but teach residents. And when something's new on the block, they're helpful.
It was as simple as that. And after that, we became the hospital that had trained more robotic surgery than anybody in the state of Michigan.
When Dr. Diogno got here, he used the word infrastructure. We need a research infrastructure. And he was absolutely delighted to find that the Ministrellis were interested in supporting.
Mr. Peter and Mrs. Florine Ministrelli are really godsend to me, godsend to the Department of Urology, and godsend to Beaumont Health System, because their enormous contribution got us to where we are now, a national and internationally recognized urological surgical department.
When I talk about infrastructure, it's not just people, but it's seed money. It's money to be able to take an idea, develop it, and get some clinical data.
We started organizing a database, because without gathering the data for the robotic surgery, we would not know if this is working or not.
This database was used widely by our physicians internally to improve the quality and to learn about what worked and what wasn't working in robotic prostatectomy, and to really improve their skills and techniques so the patient outcomes were phenomenal.
We've now changed how other people practice across the country. But it also shows what a donation, for an infrastructure can do to develop a program and then make it something spectacular.
And so we started an initiative called WISH, Women Initiative for Sexual Health. And so that became part of the Ministrelli funding.
The WISH program is another great example how, planting a seed and it grows.
It was like a ripple effect. It was a pebble in a pond that had far-reaching effects ultimately.
You look at the development of the WISH program, which led to the Women's Urology Center, which has impacted people's lives from all over the world.
The phrase "Hope Starts Here" was coined by one of our patients who actually said that as she was leaving our center.
Our multidisciplinary approach is also a huge strength of the center.
We aren't just a body, that we are a body, mind, and spirit.
The medical staff, the pelvic floor physical therapists, and our psychologists, all working together to help our patients with a variety of conditions. And this is all evidence-based through our research that we do.
If there was no initial investment in the chronic pelvic pain in our WISH program with Peter and Florine, these patients would be still just going doctor shopping. If I hadn't had the support of Peter and Florine to have developed the WISH program with my team, I would have never had any foundation to go to somebody like Susan Cooper and say, I really think this center would be a benefit. The Women's Urology Center is now destination medicine for Beaumont.
We actually are a model of care for other clinicians around the country.
And I feel like I have my life back, which is the most important thing, and it's all due to the surgery.
But the best thing of it is the pain has diminished to the point where my husband can take me in his arms and dance just a little with me around. I haven't wanted to dance for so long, and now I feel I've got that back in my life.
Children who are born with spina bifida, they're born with an opening by their lower spine, and that opening has to be closed, so their spinal column never really forms completely. So these kids, their entire life, have to be using catheters to empty their bladder because their bladder never was innervated with nerves. And really, other than managing them, there's really been nothing to help these kids. Well, there was a lot of research out of China. So again, we used the Ministrelli funds, and we took a team with Dr. Diogno, Dr. Gonzalez, and myself. We traveled to China, and we actually worked with the surgeon who developed this. We met patients who've had this procedure done. We operated and learned how to do this technique. And then we came back to America and to Beaumont, and we said, we have to do this. Ultimately, we were able to reroute the nerves in 13 kids with spina bifida, and all these kids were having to use catheters, were on drugs for their bladder, and had fecal issues.
There's no reason for anyone to have to suffer with this if there's any chance of success. And they were having like 85% success in China. And in the United States, they don't even know about it.
It's been a hard life. I was sick of always having to cath myself and spending so much time in the bathroom. I think back then it took about maybe a half hour just to go to the bathroom.
So we did these surgeries, and it takes like a year for the nerves to reroute if they're going to. I mean, we didn't know if it was going to work or not.
My mom told me about the surgery that she was reading about. I was like, we have to go. I have to.
About 2/3 of these kids are now voiding on their own. They're off all their bladder drugs. They don't have to use catheters, and their bowel function has improved dramatically.
It's been about 2 years since I've used a catheter at all. It's been about a year since I've had an infection. I had some trouble after I stopped cathing, but I got that down, no more infections. And I'm going to college now, so I'm really excited about that.
The fact that it helped anybody was remarkable, but to help the majority of them, I think is astounding.
I just cried. We were so excited that it was just a positive reaction. So,
because we had such a great, robust research infrastructure, and a lot of our issues were around neurourology, voiding dysfunction, spina bifida, what it did is it allowed us to attract Michael Chancellor to come to Beaumont. Michael Chancellor is actually unquestionably the top neurourologist in the entire world. Well, that's led to Beaumont being the first in the United States ever to use one's own stem cells to treat incontinence.
So our vision is to have Beaumont at the hub of collaboration across the world to develop a biomarker to predict who's going to end up needing a catheter or a nursing home, and to use stem cell to regenerate the bladder so the weakened bladder can work again.
Being able to do that research now at Beaumont, it's attracted other donors to support the projects that he's involved with. And so again, that seed money has allowed us to develop something which has brought in more money to help continue the program beyond that infrastructure that was initially given to us. And I don't think there could be anything better from a donor standpoint to think that their gift has gone from, starting an idea to really leading to something amazing. Peter and Florine's support means everything to Beaumont Urology. We would not be the department we are right now without it.
We just won #1 hospital in the state of Michigan.
I just want to say thank you to the Ministrellis. Without the funding and the support that you've given our program, we wouldn't be able to do half of the things that we're able to do with travel, with our education. Something as simple as textbooks we wouldn't be offered from the hospital, and it really has made a difference in our residency training.
I'd like to thank you very much for your gracious support of our residency program and everything that you've done to help train residents and train international residents and really support the Beaumont Urology Department. It's enhanced my residency and my training, and I know from experience of previous residents that there's countless residents and countless people that aren't going to have the opportunity to thank you that you've also enhanced greatly. So we appreciate your support.
I'm just going to tell you this, which I have told you many times. I'm very grateful to what you have done. You have done something that not too many people do. Everybody is grateful to you, and I want you to assure that whatever you did, whatever money you give it to us, is put to a great cause.
At the end of the day, when you really kind of go through the steps, that gift has impacted every single part of this Department of Urology.